Again, happy Tuesday to all of you guys. Thank you for taking the time to be on board in our Tuesday training, like every Tuesday. It's always something new to always learn in real estate. Our job is to continue learning and enhancing our mindset, our skills, and knowledge. So please continue, taking the training, anything you got to do to enhance and help your clients when it comes to selling and buying real estate in today's marketplace. Okay, so before we start our training, does anybody have any questions from last week in regards to the listing contracts? Any questions? Anything you guys didn't understand that probably went too fast or too slow, or you just didn't catch it, or you don't? Again, please do not be afraid to ask. We're not here to judge. We are here to help. So please unmute yourself, put in the chat box, and shoot away. No questions? We got it covered? We got it. We know it all? Yes? Naomi, you have a question, Naomi? Come on, Naomi. Unmute yourself.
The part where it says CRMLS, I got the California part.
Okay.
What was the R part?
Okay, let me go to that form. Give me 1 second, Naomi. Let me share my screen with you guys and it's gonna be on the same page. There we are. Okay, so you're speaking about this part right here, right? I believe so, right here.
Yeah, just the R. Just what did that R stand for?
Oh, CR. Okay, it's California Regional.
Oh, regional.
Yeah,
Okay.
regional. Yeah. Multiple listing services.
Yeah, I got that. Okay, thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you. Now, see, there you go. You got it covered.
Mhm.
Anybody else? Any other questions you guys have? Okay, if there's no questions, we're going to start our training and just recap real fast what we spoke last week. Okay, just I'm going to start from the listing contract. Again, it's all blanked again, and I hope you guys have your notes. This date here, okay, this is an important date because everything starts on this day. So whatever you have here is going to actually relate to anything else like addendums, okay, modification of terms, anything you have related to the listing contract is going to go back to this date. It doesn't go back to the date they sign. It goes back to the date it was prepared. Again, so everything you want to relate back or in reference to, okay, it goes back to the date prepared, not the beginning date, not the date they were signed. So please make a note of that, okay? Please, 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 anything you want to reference back to the listing contract, it goes back to the date it was prepared, not the date beginning, not the beginning date or the ending date or the date it was signed, but the date it was prepared. Okay, please keep that in mind. Okay, we also mentioned that if you have a corporation, an entity, an LLC, POA, a trust, okay, it will go on this portion right here, on this top toolbar right here, and then the name of the actual sellers will go right here. Okay, so if you notice here, when I click here, nothing happens. Okay, I'm able to type in, but when I click here, it gives you the option to type in the first name and last name, right, for the first and the second seller of the owner of the property. Okay, so keep that in mind. And again, who hereby employs and grants, that'll be our broker, Berkshire Hathaway Home Services. We talked about beginning dates. Again, the beginning dates can be the same day you take that listing, or it could be a future date as well. Now, okay, and I'll discuss again. What if you did sign the listing contract, but they came back into you and say, hey Naomi, you know what? I need more days because I forgot to mention that I want to do some painting, some renovation, some cleanup in there. Would you mind actually? Can we do that? Yes. So that'll be a different form to use, and that's car form SELM, car selm, and that form is gonna allow you to extend the right or not to expose or publicize their listing into the MLS, right? And that's going to give you three options: either days not to be off the market, right, for a couple of days, or to a specific date, or for the entire listing contract. And that's on car form SELM, SELM. Okay, please keep that in mind. That's to exclude the listing from the MLS for a certain period of time, days, a date, or the entire listing contract. All right. Also, don't forget to put our address right there. The LA County, South, Riverside, whatever county it is. Okay, please do not abbreviate that. The zip code and the parcel number. Okay, keep in mind you need to have every for every parcel you sell. Okay, or every property that has a different parcel number. Okay, you need to have its own listing agreement. Okay, right here it doesn't say parcel numbers. It only says parcel number, singular. Okay, so if you're selling a property with a piece of land together, okay, keep in mind you need to have a listing contract for the property itself, and you also need to have a listing contract for the vacant land as well. So you will have two listing contracts, one for a vacant land and one for the property, single family residence. Okay, please make a note of that. Okay, if your property is a manufactured home, mobile home, right? You need to attach an addendum car form MHLA. Okay, that's a car form you gotta attach in case you have a manufactured mobile home, and you gotta select this part. In case that listing is also a probate, okay, through court, okay, guardianship or receivership, okay, you need to attach car form PLA for additional terms that will go attached with that listing contract as well. Okay, so either one, okay, or both of them. It could be both of them as well. List price, okay, right here. We talked about listing terms, right? What are listing terms, right? We went through that as well. Okay. Again, on a listing term, real fast, it could be when your seller says, okay, Carolina, okay, I'm willing to give you 6%. But if you do sell this property, right, I'm gonna give you again. If you find the buyer for this property, I'm just gonna give you just 4%. Okay, and you trying to make it happen. Okay, sure, whatever, please the seller and get this listing signed and right and accepted right from the seller. Then again, right here, you must only type says okay if Carolina Turcios um, represents the buyer and the seller on this transaction, the commission shall be X or 4%, right? So please always just put your name. Do not put the entire Berkshire Hathaway Home Services because when you put if Berkshire Hathaway Home Services represents the buyer and the seller, okay, then you're saying that all the brokerage, okay, whoever, let's say for example, let's say someone else, let's say Carolina, she's from Southgate, and then we have someone else from Downey, let's say Brenda Bailey, for example, right? Brenda Bailey from Downey finds a buyer. Now, what are we? We are a dual agent. Okay, we're keep in mind that regardless of which office we work for, okay, for the same broker, we are a dual agent. So that means that um, Carolina and Brenda, instead of getting a 3 and 3, for a 6, right? Now they're gonna get most likely a 2 and 2 because it was mentioned here from the beginning that if Berkshire Hathaway Home Services. So that's why we gotta be very careful how we will use our words and put them together on the listing terms. Okay. Same thing. Let's say the seller says, well, I have a neighbor next door who's willing to who wants to buy my property next door. I'm sorry, he wants to buy my property. Okay, and we discussed this also last week, right? And especially when you have a buyer who's able, willing, and ready, right? So most likely they will not hesitate. They will not wait or pretty much waste time to get approved or get the paperwork ready to get actually ready for this offer. So we definitely want to put a deadline or a timeline, right? When it comes to the how soon or how or what is the latest, right? If in case they don't submit an offer. Okay, so in this case, we go put actually um, at least a 48-hour grace period that we want to sell the buyer to submit the offer, and we definitely want to put the name of that buyer right here. Okay, if John Doe doesn't make an offer within 48 hours, the property should go open on the open market. Okay, to the minutes, and commission should be 6%, for example, whatever that is. Okay, so you always gotta be smart because the last thing you want that that buyer or that neighbor next door prolongs and then delays your transaction, this listing, because maybe he takes a week, 2 weeks, and then in the meantime you cannot expose his property to the MLS, and that means you most likely you want to get paid 6%. Your job is to always get the 6% at all given time. Okay, keep that in mind. Okay, so when it comes to commissions, again, it's right here 6%. Okay, all the way. Now that's going to be the entire 6% is going to be paid for yourself, and what are you going to pay also for the cooperating broker, which is going to be the buyer's agent, who's going to either bring the buyer to your property. Okay, right here, when it comes to how many days within 180 days, again, this is for what? If for whatever given reason your property did not sell and it expired, okay, you're saying that you also want to be asking for the seller, okay, if for whatever given reason, okay, any person who was willing, able, and ready to buy this property, and you give the list to the seller, hey, Mr. Seller, just to know, we a couple of offers came in. John Doe came into my open house. In case he comes back, and he buys a property after this property expires, or when it expires, right? I am entitled to the commission. Okay, because a lot of sellers, again, trying to be sneaky, and if the property hasn't sold, right, and they know that their contract is about to expire, sometimes they would mention that to the buyer so they could not pay commission. Okay, so you got to be very careful when it comes to getting your commission paid, and you definitely got to provide a list of people, or the list of the names of the people who came into your open houses, people who you wrote offers on, right, and so on and so on. Okay, so please make a note of that. Okay, this is going to be on D. This is going to be the actual percentage you want to pay to the other broker. So it's not going to be 8%. It's 6% total. And how much you're going to pay out of your 6%? In this case, I'm paying 2%. Okay. Also, we're going to continue when it comes to the obligation of being actually compensation. Okay. Um, if for whatever given reason, okay, if John Doe, the neighbor, does buy the property within 48 hours or makes an offer, right? Then most likely, if you're not obligated to help them, in this transaction if you don't want to. If you don't want to, get involved because you're only getting paid 2% or 3% or lower, right? And you don't feel, well, I don't want to work for less than 6% or 4%, right? Again, you're not obligated. But for that to happen first, you need to notify me first and let me know what's going on with your transaction or with that listing before you decide not to take the listing or feel not the obligation to help either party. Okay, so please make a note of that. Any questions on page 1? We're good. All right, let's move on. We discussed on page 2 when the items are excluded or included. Okay, um, real property is anything that is attached to the property. Okay, that is actually built in or screwed in. Right, an appliance is not a real property. A chandelier, it is. A light fixture, it is. Water fixture, it is. So anything that's attached to the property itself is considered real property. Anything that is movable is considered personal property, right? We talk about that, right? Appliances, washer and dryer, refrigerators, um, a dishwasher, right? That's personal because that is movable. Okay. The bracket behind the TV, your flat screen TV, that bracket itself is considered real property because now the bracket is attached to the wall, attached to the actual property itself. So the bracket itself behind your flat screen TV is considered what? Real property. The TV itself is personal property. Okay, keep that in mind. Um, and when it comes to any solar panels, if they are leased or leaned, okay, please make a note of that. Please be very careful because that could be a deal breaker for your buyer. Okay, a lot of lease items, most they are in a contract, right? And therefore they're in a contract for X period of years. It could be 10, 20, 30, who knows, on the contract, right? And they also got to pay in case they want to keep that solar panel in their home as well. If they want to buy it out after the actual lease period has ended. On a lien item is very different. On the lien item, they're already buying it outright. Okay, they're paying it on a monthly basis. Okay, but again, this actually has been deferred under taxes. So if your buyer is in a budget, for example, let's say he wants to pay 2,500 a month, and he knows that if he has another payment, for example, a lease or lien solar panel, right? That's gonna increase their payment. And keep in mind, the lender also needs to get approved. He needs to approve those buyers on the solar panels as well, because now instead of paying 2,500, now most likely they might be paying 26 to 2,700 more. Okay, so it's an additional 100 or $200 more on top of their payment. So you got to be very careful when it comes to these items. Now, a lot of lean items, a lot of solar panels, a lot of sellers are willing to pay it off, or sometimes they're already paid off in full. But when it comes to lease items, okay, yeah, they could pay off the actual contract outright, and but sometimes they don't. So you got to be very careful when you come to any property that has any solar panels. So keep an eye when you go to the property onto the roof. Okay, so keep an eye on that. Um, the MLS. Okay, we talked about the MLS. What is the MLS? Again, it's our database of all the properties that are for sale and they're available, right? And the MLS when it comes to the CRMLS, right? Our California Regional MLS Multiple Listing Services. Okay, keep in mind that our MLS, yes, it does cover a large demographic or geographic area of Southern California. It goes from, I believe, from all the way to Ventura, Bakersfield, some areas right there, all the way to San Diego County. Okay, and also somewhere in between Ventura County and so on, right? Now, yes, there's some pockets that in California within Ventura, Bakersfield, and all to San Diego. Okay, that their RMLS doesn't cover that geographic area. Okay, so what does that mean? Okay, well, it would mean that if you want to list a property, let's say for example, I think I believe it's Fresno. Okay, if Fresno is not part of the CRMLS, a reciprocal MLS, right, then most likely you would have to be a member of the local board, okay, to list your property in that region because your MLS will not cover Fresno, and anybody who lives in Fresno will not be able to see your property, for example, that is for sale. So you got to become a member. Now, before you become a member, okay, of the local board of that area, we, the broker, which is Dennis Rosas, Dennis Rosas, our president, right, our owner broker, he will have to be the first a member for you to become a member or a participant of the local board as well. Okay, so it's a broker, and then you, the agent, to become that member to the local board. Now, if that property, for example, in Fresno, okay, you're saying you belong to the CMLS, okay, and your MLS is not the primary regional, right? The primary MLS for the geographic area, you need to inform the seller. Okay, just so you know, just to let you know, I belong to a different MLS. That my MLS is not the primary geographic MLS for this region. Okay, unless you become a member to that region, then yes, you're okay. And then you could put actually, for example, you could put actually a BAOR, which is for Bakersfield and it covers Fresno as well. Okay, and then it is your primary MLS geographic area. Okay, so please keep that in mind when it comes to different MLSs. But otherwise, by default, it should be CRMLS right here. Please keep that in mind. Okay. All right, and we discussed about on the impacts of opting out from the MLS. Okay, how can that actually affect the exposure when it comes to selling the property, right? And there's many reasons why a seller would like to not expose or not to publicize their property into the MLS, right? Publish their home, right? It could be for privacy reasons. It could be for any maybe celebrity, right, or anything else, right? Maybe they don't want to have nobody, maybe have a lot of valuables in their home, and they just don't want actually their home to get exposed when it comes to virtual tours, 3D tours, or anything like that, right? So that's why they want to opt out from the MLS. And again, to opt out for a certain time of period is card form SELM. Okay, keep that in mind. Now, to exclude pictures or from any internet sites, okay, that's card form what? SELI. That's to exclude the address, pictures, and also maybe from different websites like Zillow, Trulia, Redfin, Realtor.com, and so on. But again, you definitely gotta put this immediately because again, if you submit your property to the MLS, once it goes to the MLS, is it would once it goes to it goes to all these different sites and like Trulia, Redfin, and you would not be able to retract yourself and say, you know what? Well, my seller says they don't want Trulia, they don't want Redfin, they don't want Realtor.com. Well, it's too late. Once it goes to 10 minutes, that's it. You cannot bring it back. Okay. Yes, you can remove it from the MLS. Yes, it can be taken off from the MLS. But Once it goes, but truly a refit, forget about it. It's gonna be there. Okay, so please always make sure to ask your sellers or the owners, keep in mind once this goes into MLS, it's gonna hit all different sites. Are you okay with that? Yes. Okay, fine. Let's move on forward. Okay. Okay, initial here, and also you get an initial here as well. Um, when it comes to marketing the property before it goes into active or available, okay, there's also an option that is called coming soon. Coming soon is it allows you to market the property, okay. It only allows you to market the property for coming soon, meaning that you could expose the property to the open public, to people, but you're not able to show it or to take any offers off the property on the coming soon status. Okay, and coming soon status is only good for 21 days, and that's it. After the 22nd day, automatically the coming soon status is going to go to active or available into A. Okay, let me repeat myself. If you want to expose and get the property up to speed, right? Maybe you want to get it going, right? But they're not ready to sell the property because they're doing some stuff to the property, but you want to actually get some exposure, right? And maybe get some couple of buyers already lined up on your end because you want to double lend it, which is okay and illegal to do a dual agency. And also you want to expose it to our company, to our Berkshire Hathaway offices. Yes, you can do that. Okay, you're able to do that for the next 21 days. Can it be less than 21 days? Of course, you could do it for 10 days, 20 days, 15 days, whatever days. But again, it cannot surpass 21 days. Again, if you leave it coming soon for 21 days, on the day 22nd, automatically the MLS is going to change the status from coming soon to active. Okay? Questions on the coming soon status? We good? Yes? All right. Let's move forward. Okay, and again, we talked about the card form as the SELM or any local equivalency. Okay, to be off the market on this right here. And same thing goes with the card form SELI, right, which is right here as well. Okay, and this is which is the feature to opt out from the MLS or from any pictures or anything else like that. Okay, and now let's say let's pretend that the seller does want to opt out. Maybe they want to use card form SELI, the SELI form, right? And they don't want their address or pictures taken on the property. What is the best way for you to expose or to maybe put this property for exposure? Excuse me, for exposure. Any ideas? Anybody can open their mic or maybe put in the chat box. How would you pretty much get this property for sale? What can you do? What comes to your head? And again, it goes in the MLS, but there's no pictures. Maybe just a front picture, but no address. What other ways of exposure can you use to get this property sold?
Coming soon.
Well, yeah, but it's gonna go coming soon and then active, Rodrigo. But again, on the MLS, the seller says, you know what, on Rodrigo, I don't want no pictures. Maybe the front picture is okay, just the exterior on the front, but nothing on the interior. And plus, I don't want my address to be exposed as well. The city, I'm okay with the city, but not my address. So what other ways or forms can we use to get this property sold? Anybody? No
Mail
ideas?
cards.
Go ahead, Margaret. You're saying?
Mail cards.
Yes, mail cards. That could be one. That postcards, mailers, right? Yes. Maybe send some mailers around the area, right?
Right.
You could say within a quarter mile radius from this mailer from this address, right? There's a house for sale, and you could just show them the front picture. That's it. So mailers within maybe a quarter mile, right? Radius from the property. That could be one idea, right? Phone calls. You could call, right? Hey, have a house for sale in the area. It's really again, you could describe the property, right? Now, if they're interested, they could show them the property, right? As long as they're what? Pre-approved. So yeah, so mailers, postcards, phone calls, door knocking, anything can help. Or may contact you what? Your database as well. Your past clientele, your database, your SOI, right? Center of influence. All right. So let's move on. Again, when it comes to also the automated estimate of value, again, our job is also to do a CMA, a competitive market analysis when it comes to the property. Okay, because we definitely want to let our clients know, right? Or especially the seller to be aware what is the most they can obtain once they sell this property, right? What is the top dollar based on what? On comparables in their neighborhood, on their area, right? So we definitely gotta let them know. Again, we could prepare a cloud CMA, a classic CMA, but again, we need to show them, okay, the numbers again, because from that's gonna be from fantasy land back to reality land, right? Because a lot of sellers think they, well, my house is worth this much, but in reality, it's only worth this much, right? So it's always good to have always a CMA to let your clients be aware of what's going on, how much their house can sell for, right? So it's always good to let them know and always prepare that what's going on. All right, good. Let's continue. Okay, so when it comes to right here, actually on 10C, okay, any buyer supplemental offers letters, okay, or pretty much they call it actually the warm letters. Pretty much, we're not actually, back in the days and still now here and there, you might get a warm letter from a buyer, right? From that they pretty much actually give a story of themselves, a little story of their family, who they are, where they come from, even maybe a picture as well. Keep in mind that those letters are not really good to take, because the last thing you want that if you do not take that offer from this warm letter, including with this family, they might take it bad as they were discriminated upon. Because again, let's say for example, maybe a Hispanic family, for example, right? A Hispanic family wrote a nice warm letter to say, we fell in love with your home. This is the home we've always been looking for. We want to see our kids grow up. We have a dog as well. This is going to be our home. I know you guys were this was your home at one point, but we definitely want to take over your nest here and there. Again, so many things, right, could happen. But if that offer didn't get accepted because a better offer came in, okay, they could take it as bad. Well, because we were Hispanic or Mexican or whatever, they didn't take my offer. Again, if you get an offer with a letter, please refuse that. Again, don't refuse the offer, but refuse the letter. Okay, tell the client, tell that agent, actually, we're willing to take your offer, right? But we don't want to take any letters that come in from your buyers, okay? Because again, the last thing you want, they feel they were discriminated because of the type of race or ethnicity or anything else on the background. So please be very careful when it comes to um, warm letters, and it says here, seller instructs brokers not to present any buyer's letters, okay? Or maybe the seller does want the letters, okay? So either one, if the seller says no, leave it alone. If seller says yes, then select it here, okay? But again, be very careful when it comes to those warm letters, okay? It's not a smart idea to submit them. So please keep that in mind. Give me 1 second, folks. I'm sorry. Let's see. Okay, let's move forward. Okay, so when it comes to letter E, investigations and reports, seller agrees within 5 days of the beginning date. Okay, the beginning date is when the actual contract begins. Okay, of this agreement to order, and when required by a service provider, pay for a natural hazard disclosure report and the following reports. Okay, so keep in mind that the seller has 5 days. Okay, to what? To pay for the following reports. Just the reports, not the work on the report, but just the report. Okay, so let me emphasize here real fast and encourage everybody here on this call. Okay, when you take a listing, okay, again, when you take, let me come back to you guys. Let me stop this real fast. Let me come back to you guys, and I want to see what's going on here. Okay, when you guys take a listing, okay, please, I encourage, I recommend, okay, if you know for a fact that listing you're taking is going to be yours, and no one else's, when I mean yours, that you're not competing with any other broker, any other agent. Again, it was, hey Rodrigo, I want to sign the contract with you. Come over, let's get over. Okay, take all your disclosures to get signed on the spot. A lot of agents make a mistake, okay, and wait to sign disclosures when they get an offer accepted. Please don't do that. Again, don't wait until you get an offer accepted to get your disclosures out of the way. If you know, again, the listing is yours to be to get signed, print everything. Go with everything. Again, Mr. Seller, or hey John, whatever, here's a contract, let's get sign it. But also, I'm going to give you my disclosures for you to fill out. I will come back the next day. So please make sure to go through every single one, fill them out. Any questions you have, please leave it blank. And when I come back tomorrow, we'll go through those questions together. Is that fair? Yes. Okay. So please always, always sign and get disclosures signed when you take the listing. Now, if you have a listing and you're competing with other brokers or other agents in the neighborhood, yes, do not print disclosures. Just print your listing contract and take it with you. Now, if you get that listing, come back the next day and bring disclosures to your listing, okay, for the seller, to the owner, to sign them and to fill out any form, okay. Now, why do I emphasize and why do I recommend and encourage all of you guys to do not wait when you get an offer accepted? Because per contract and your RPA, the seller has 7 days after acceptance to provide all documentation to the buyer. Again, the seller has 7 days after acceptance to provide all documentation to the buyer after acceptance. Okay. Now, if you want to wait until you get your offer accepted, guess what? You're losing time. You're buying time to the buyer. Because by the time you go back to the seller, you're negotiating the offer. And hopefully the offer gets accepted. And it does get accepted. Okay. And then you open escrow. And then you got to go back to your seller to sign disclosures. And if your seller's not available or they take their sweet time to sign your disclosures, right? Now you're not gonna be able to turn in those disclosures within 7 days, right? Maybe might pass 7 days. Now, can the buyer's agent order their home inspection? Can they order the appraisal? Well, they can, but most likely they will not if they're a smart agent. Well, how do you expect me to order my home inspection when I haven't even seen your disclosures? When you haven't even provided me what to look for? Because disclosures, they tell a lot about the property and the home and the house, right? Now, if the house is probably infested with termites or anything else they want to disclose, maybe any illegal additions or structural damage, right? The TDS and the SPQ is going to say that. And this is why it's very crucial for the seller to disclose everything based on their knowledge, right? Based on their recollection of the property. Now, if I see this now, again, I told you my story, what happened in the past when I was still a rookie in this business. I got so eager and excited that I didn't get disclosures, but we had to remove contingencies. I ordered the home inspection and the appraisal on the same day. But after we received the disclosure the following day, we found out that somebody had passed away in the property. And my buyer was really upset because, again, they didn't want to, again, once they saw that somebody had died, Freddy, we're very superstitious. When somebody dies, we're afraid of that. We don't want to mess with that. Okay. Well, I lost that list. I lost that sale. I had to pay back the home inspection and the appraisal, and the client walked out of my business pretty much. So I was negative at the long run. So please be very careful. Always provide disclosures and get them done immediately. Okay. Because again, same thing goes. Let me go back to my And there's a question here. Um, okay, actually, there was actually a question you add. Rodrigo's asking before, can you add it 2 minutes? Yes. Rodrigo, yes, you can add the property with an address. Yes, you can, or you can also add it with no address. Okay. All right. Let's go back to the um, the listing contract. Okay. So when it comes to this, again, keep in mind, for example, Southgate, Lingwood, Compton, Bell Gardens, Cudahy, Maywood, Gardena, Huntington Park. Okay, all the cities that I'm naming right now, they have what is called a city pre-sale report, meaning the city needs to go and inspect the property, or they send an inspector, right, to preview the property for any illegal additions, anything that is not actually up to code or permitted. And with COVID times, it was actually mostly complicated. Some cities stopped doing that. Some cities would take longer than the usual time. Now it's getting more normal, but again, the city still takes time to send their inspector to the property to get that report. Now, let me ask you a question. If you were helping a buyer, okay, and you get this report 14 days later from acceptance, right? And you already did a home inspection, you already did the appraisal, and you're getting ready to get a loan approval. But then you get the city appraisal report, and it says there's a lot of illegal additions. The property is not up to code. This is a laundry list of items on this property. And the seller says, and the buyer says, you know what? Hey, I wasn't aware about this. I just don't feel comfortable. Again, because it's going to cost me more money to bring this property up to code to fix it. I'm just going to cancel. Yes, again, keep on. They're still within their time frame, within their contingency period, but now they want to cancel, and now they're upset. Maybe at you, and maybe also at the seller. Now, they could cancel, but now they're asking for what? For a reimbursement for the seller for not providing this report on time. Now, what are the chances they will get reimbursement for the home inspection and for the appraisal? What are the chances? Anybody? You think they'll get their money back? Or the seller says, you know what? No, too bad. You go cancel. I'll give you back your initial deposit, but that's it. Is that fair for the buyer? Anybody? Come on, folks. Come on. It's a two-way class here. Well, most likely, they might not get reimbursement. Okay. Now, in some cases, yes, they do reimburse back because again, this was the seller's fault, right? But you got to be very careful. Again, you got to be holding your grounds if you're helping the buyer, right? Now, if you're helping the seller, right, and you totally forgot there was a city pre-sale inspection report, and then they cancel on your seller, most likely that's just going to come back to you. Hey, well, Margaret, you didn't let me know about this, and now that buyer walked away. I'm going to take it away from your commission now. I'm going to deduct it from your commission. So you got to be, again, and this is why it's very crucial to know what cities require such reports and what cities don't. Now, if you have no idea, in our sky slope, there's a list of the cities that required a city pre-sale report. Now, also your escrow officer can inform you and let you know what cities required. Now, if you don't, then call the city itself. Hey, city of Compton, I have a house for sale in this area. Does it require a city pre-sale report? They may say yes. They may say no. Now, keep in mind that not all cities required a city pre-sale report. Okay. For example, the city of LA, they require what is called a 9A report. Okay, but if the city of LA lands in the county, again, city of LA, county, right? It doesn't require a 9A report. Compton Compton is divided in two sections: the city of Compton and the unincorporated city of Compton. Okay. Now, the unincorporated city of Compton doesn't require a city pre-sale report. Only the city of Compton. Now, how can you know if your house or that property you're selling is situated in the city of Compton or the unincorporated city of Compton? Well, you could just call, or you go assess your escrow officer. Back in the days, again, back in our younger days, if you've been in the business for many, many years like I have, we used to use Thomas guides. If you have a Thomas guide laying around somewhere, okay, the Thomas guide, okay, for you guys on millennials or younger people, we didn't have Google. We have Thomas guides. um, without without the respect, the Thomas guide, it will show the yellow area next to the city. So, for example, if Compton was shaded in a green area, and if it was actually maybe in between or in the middle yellow, that would show that part of the yellow part of the Compton, it was unincorporated. That's the only way we could tell in the days back then if the house was unincorporated or the city of Compton. Also, in the present days, Yahoo Maps. Yahoo Maps would also actually have that feature as well. And then the part was actually more shaded gray than the other, but Yahoo Maps is no longer in existence. So Yahoo Maps is no longer available. So nowadays, I have no idea how to look for the unincorporated or corporate area. Hold on, something in the chat box. Carlos says here, it says, I typically ask the seller to give me 7 to 10 days, excluding the property off the MLS, to give me time to apply a pre-sale report, take property photos, sign up marketing materials, disclosures, etc., to avoid any issues. Yes, Carlos, that's a great way to make it happen. Okay, yes. So yes, you could definitely ask the seller to give you 7 to 10 days, right, to exclude the property off the MLS, so you as the agent can do your due diligence, right, to inspect, right, take pictures, get disclosures, and maybe find out if the property has a city pre-sale. Again, to avoid, like Carlos says, to avoid any issues. Very good job, Carlos. Very good. Good for you, brother. Yes. So yes, so that again, so for that, if you want to give that, again, you definitely want to go back to your beginning date, right? And push the beginning date to a future date, right? So today is on October 4, right? Then we could push it maybe to um October 10th, for example, right? Or 14, right? To buy time. Or if that's the case, then use car form SELM, right? Car form SEL, right? To exclude it from the MLS. But it's always good to always do your due diligence as an agent, okay? So please keep that in mind. Okay, now when it comes to reports, okay, keep in mind when it comes to reports, the seller is not obligated to what? To pay for the report. Okay, I'm sorry, to pay for the work on the report. The seller is only obligated to pay for the report, not the work in the report. Okay, so we know the natural hazard disclosure, the NHD, right? Now, keep in mind, me personally, I always recommend my sellers to pay for the structural pest control, which is the termite report. I select here. Now, this is optional. The general property inspection. Okay, this is your home inspection report. Okay, now, why is that an option for me to tell my sellers? Okay, now keep in mind, because I had an experience in the past that yes, I did ask my homeowner, the seller, to pay for their own report, and all this is going to make sense once I tell you why. Keep in mind that when you provide reports and when you provide all this information to the buyer who's able, willing, and ready to buy this property, it's going to help you actually be pretty much like an open book on this property, because now the buyer knows what they're buying from the get-go, right? So, for example, let me ask Tiffany. Tiffany, are you there, Tiffany? Can you hear me? Tiffany, is Tiffany around? Okay. I'll ask Jasenia. Jasenia, are you there, Jasenia? Strike two. Okay. Brenda Orena. Are you there, Brenda? Yes.
I'm here.
Okay. So I need your participation in this. Thank you. So Brenda, let's pretend you're the buyer, right?
Uh-huh.
You're buying a property in today's market, right?
Hmm.
Okay. So you're buying a property, and at first, you know what you want, right? You're buying a property here in Southgate, and like every buyer, you want bueno, bonito y barato y cerca, right? Right? So you want a nice, beautiful, and clean and close, right? But me as an agent, right? And let's say Mr. Rodriguez helping you, he's your agent, right? And you're the buyer. So I provide the term report. I provide a home inspection report from the seller, right? And I also provide a appraisal report from Southgate as well. On the term report, you find out as a buyer, and Rodrigo says, "Hey, just to let you know, Brenda, this property is infested with termites. It needs to be treated and fumigated." Okay. We also they also gave us a home inspection report that the foundation is pretty beat up. Again, it needs work. Again, the house is actually settling down. It's kind of like on a slope. And lastly, they sent us some additions based on the city appraisal report. There's some additions that are up to code, and they don't have permits. But again, from the outside, it looks really nice. You like the property. It's price to sell, right? It's probably my price below market value. Now, you, Brenda, as a buyer, you have two options either. Based on what you have seen from the beginning, A, you continue with the purchase, or B, you know what? It's not for me. Because based on the information that we have provided to you as a buyer. So, Brenda, what would you do, Brenda? Would you A, continue with the purchase, or B, walk away from the purchase?
Depends.
Depends on what?
Depends if I have money to fix.
Right, you do, right? Okay, so let's say if you don't have the money.
Okay.
Pretty much, most likely you walk away, right?
Yeah, probably.
You will, most likely, because again, now we're saving you money to not to invest in a home inspection report because you already know what is wrong with the property. Now, if you, like you said, if you have the money, you proceed with it, but you already know what you're getting into from the beginning, right? If it makes sense to you based on the numbers, right, to your knowledge, right? Okay, well, you know what? Yeah, it makes sense. The house is still priced below market value. I could probably still buy it and maybe flip it or get into it and make some stuff to it. But I already know what I'm buying. Again, yeah, it's infested. It needs to be fumigated. Now, does that mean that you could go back to the seller and probably negotiate something else? Yes, you can. Of course you can, right? But with this, you already know what's going on. So this is always important to disclose from the beginning, because again, if you don't wanna, if you want to, so technically you want a buyer who's willing to buy this property with all these flaws on the property that you don't care. Okay, I have the money. I don't care. I'll buy it. I know it has a bad foundation. I know it has termites, and I know it has illegal additions without permits. I'm okay with that. I could live with that. I'm okay. I'll fix it. And, I'm a contractor. I get the money. Let's do it. Let's continue moving forward. That's it. But another buyer might say, no, I just don't want to invest into something that is not worth it because, again, I don't have the money to pay for it. Does that make sense? And there's something on the chat box. Let's see what's going on here. Carlos G is saying, if you really like the property, you can ask for a credit. Yes, of course, Carlitos. You could definitely ask for a credit or a price reduction. Brenda, thank you for your time, Brenda. Yes, so yes, for sure. Again, you can ask for a credit or price reduction. Of course you can, right? The beauty about real estate that everything is negotiable. Everything is negotiable in real estate. Don't forget that, okay? So Brenda can come back and say, okay, Mr. Seller, based on what you have shown me, I'm okay with the property, but let's do this. How about you lower the price or give me a credit back for repairs or, fumigate it or anything else, right? Now, let's go back to the general property inspection. Okay, now, this is something that happened to me as well. Actually, happened to one of our agents that, yes, I did encourage because the house needed some little work in there. And because we know that some inspectors, well, with all the respect for home inspectors, there's no license to become a home inspector in California. They are only certified. Okay, if you didn't know that, now you know. Okay. Home inspectors are not licensed. They are only certified, meaning that they take a class, training, that's it. They get their certification and that's it. They're not like us that we gotta take a test, an exam, and go to the state, get licensed. None of that. Okay. So anybody can become a home inspector. Okay, you could hire somebody from Home Depot, people who does a handyman, right? So this happened to one of our clients, right? That yes, there was a home inspection done by a lucrative company. They took pictures of the property, and the house looks kind of clean here and there. Okay, but again, of course, like every home, there has little flaws here and there, but nothing major, right? Then we move forward. That we provided a report to the buyer. They were not really fully satisfied, but they were okay with it. But they also wanted to do conduct their own inspection on the property, which they had the right to do so. So the buyer came back. They hired their inspector, and then they mentioned that the house was really bad. That the house was leaking on the attic. There were stains, water stains, and so many things. So technically, we compare reports. Wait a minute. The report from the seller and the report from the buyer. Totally different pictures. So who do you think had the correct pictures? The seller's home inspector or the buyer's home inspector?
The buyer's home inspector.
So Jorge, you're saying that buyer's home inspector had the correct pictures and not the seller's home inspector?
I believe so. It is the only one that will be level 4, I guess.
The first one, no, Jorge. Well, in this case, it was wrong, Jorge, because again,
Okay.
keep in mind that most likely, I don't think the home inspector who paid by the seller is going to cheat him out of his business. So the buyer's home inspector had pictures from a different property and put it on the report, just to what? To make it more fake and more fraudulent on this sale.
Then we don't have the pictures of the property you asked me for.
No, yeah, we got two
Just
reports.
checking.
We
Yeah.
got two reports, one from the seller and one from the buyer. But the pictures from the buyer didn't match the pictures from the seller's agent, right? From the seller's home inspector. So you got to be very careful, folks, again, because there's a lot of sneaky people out there, right? And we don't know this, especially ourselves. Again, we don't know our home when it comes to the attic and foundation, if you have one, right? We just know our four walls around us, right? We don't know what's going on in the attic. We don't know what's going on underneath the foundation, right? And a lot of people, again, it could be sneaky. I'm not speaking bad about people, but again, the last new one they present with you guys with different pictures, and you guys fall for it. So you got to be very careful who they hire for a home inspector. And there's also we have a comment. Maricelia saying, "Hi, Freddy. Would you be adding this recording?" Yes, Maricelia, this recording is in YouTube. Okay, it will be coming on YouTube. Okay, so be careful when it comes to your home inspectors, folks. Okay, be very careful. Okay, now also the homeowners association documents. Okay, this is the HOA and the CCNRs. Okay, if your house is situated in a condominium, townhouse, or PUD, or a community that has an HOAs or CCNRs, okay, same thing. The HOA might take their time to deliver and provide CCNRs. And what are CCNRs? Covenants, conditions, and restrictions, right? And those covenants, conditions, and restrictions, right, will provide what the do's and don'ts on the community, right? Maybe you cannot smoke. Maybe you cannot have no pets. Maybe this property cannot be rented, right? And so many things. Maybe only one car is allowed in the parking space, right? So many things. So you got to be careful because, again, sometimes the HOA management will take their time to provide CCNRs to you as a owner or to the agent, and then you got to put it back to the buyer. Okay. Well, the preliminary report that's supposed to be given through escrow, it's okay. Any roof inspections, pool inspections, sewer and septic and sewer inspection or other. Okay, so when it comes to these items, I would say recommend, optional, obligation. Okay, recommend always, always, optional, optional, and optional, right? So recommend, optional, recommend, recommend, optional, 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 and optional. Okay, so I would definitely always encourage my sellers to always provide a pest control or a term report on the offer. Okay, now if you have it from the beginning, then attach to the MLS. Same thing goes with the home inspection as well. Okay, attach your report to the MLS. Okay, so you can see it. So that like that, you have an offer from buyers who are willing and able and willing to take that risk. Right now, would that jeopardize? Would that actually affect your sale? No, because again, yes, they might say, well, we want to offer a low price, we want to negotiate. Yes, let them do it. But at the end of the day, the last word is always given by the seller. The seller has the last word, either to credit back or to lower the price. Because I'd rather take an offer from a buyer right now from the beginning who's willing to take that risk that the house is infested with termites, right? Then down the line, then they find out that the house it needs to be treated or fumigated, and then the seller says no, right? And then they cancel their escrow, right? Again, I don't want to go 7 days or 14 days into escrow, and then they canceled, and then I gotta start all over again with a new buyer. Does that make sense to you guys? I'd rather take a buyer who's willing to take, like, for example, like Brenda says, if I have the money and I don't care, I'll move forward. I'm okay with that. I could live with it. Instead of going through escrow, you know what? Well, because the report says this and you're not going to do any repairs, forget about it. Let's cancel. And then your days on the market will affect you down the line, which we don't want. Okay. So any questions on paragraph E? No? Okay, good. And letter F, when it comes to seller further agrees to indemnify, defend, and hold broker harmless from all claims, disputes, litigations, judgments, attorney fees, and the costs arising from any incorrect or incomplete information supplied by seller, or from any material facts, okay, the seller knows but fails to disclose, including dangerous or hidden conditions of the property. Okay, so keep in mind with this, we are not liable. They cannot hold us accountable, right, for anything that it was not fully disclosed, right, to the buyer's agent or to the buyer from the seller. Okay, so pretty much we are harmless from any claims or disputes or litigations. Okay, so please keep that in mind. Again, it's not up to us. So when it comes to the TDS, when it comes to the SPQ, what is the TDS? That's the real estate transfer disclosure statement. And what is the SPQ? Seller's property questionnaire. Okay, those two need to be filled out only by the seller. Again, TDS, Tom, David, Sam, and SPQ, Sam, Peter, Quebec. Okay, those two disclosures need to be filled out by the seller. Okay, do not fill out those forms for your sellers, please. Okay, now you might say, well, Freddy, my client doesn't speak English. Well, get somebody to translate for them. Now you go ask the questions, help them, but I guess it's best if they have a family member or a friend who could help them translate it or help them fill out these forms. Because again, if you ask those questions and then translate them to Spanish, Japanese, Chinese, or any other language, and you don't interpret or you don't translate it the correct way, it could come back to you. Well, you told me it said this, but it said something else differently. So always have a friend or someone else help them on those two disclosures, please. Okay. And we will go through them, okay, as well. So any questions on page 3 when it comes to reports to be paid by the seller and not the work in the report? All right, let's move on. Okay, page 4. We already discussed about the agency relationship. Okay, again, I'm gonna bring it up again to, okay, a dual agent is anybody working for the same broker regardless of which office they belong to. Again, a dual agent is a transaction, okay, from 2 different agents working under the same broker's license regardless of which office they belong to. So we have Brenda from Southgate working together with Rodrigo over here in Downey. Both together from Downey and Southgate, again, they become a dual agent because they belong to the same broker, okay, same license. Please make a note of that. Now, if Brenda Orena is only helping the buyer and the seller, she's also a dual agent. Now, if Brenda's helping the seller and John Doe from Remax, that is not a dual agent. That's a single agency confirmation. Now, if Brenda Orena is helping the seller, but we have another Berkshire Hathaway from a different broker license number, that is not a dual agent. That is a single agency. Okay, even if it has the same broker's name, Berkshire Hathaway, but a different license number, okay, that is not a dual agent. So always keep an eye on the broker's license to become a dual agency. That's the only way that gives it away. If you're helping somebody and that other agent has the same license as your broker, automatically in your head you should know that we are a dual agent. But another Berkshire Hathaway, different brokers license, that is not a dual agency. Are we good on that? Are we understand? Yes? Brenda, questions?
For the last one, when would that apply if we don't have the same broker number?
That'll be on the RPA, Brenda, on page 1, when it comes to the agency confirmation. Okay, let me
Right. Right, but for example, like if the broker license number is not Dennis Rosa's, like who would that, like I don't get it. I thought we would have the same broker number.
No, yes. Okay, so keep in mind we're not the only Berkshire Hathaway in this region. Even though we control it, even though we have multiple offices, right, from Northridge all the way to Victorville and everything in between. We know that, right? There's a Berkshire Hathaway in Beverly Hills that is not part of our brokerage. So they don't have the same license number that we have, which is 00338699. So if you came across a Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, let's say for example Beverly Hills, and it has a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? Then even it has the same Berkshire Hathaway, but it's not part of our brokerage license number. Okay. So
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So yeah.
I didn't know there was other
Berkshires?
offices. Yeah. I didn't know there was other Berkshires that weren't under the Dennis Rosa's like management.
Yeah. No. Yeah. There is. Yes, there is. Yeah. There's someone also in Torrance as well. Okay. Yeah. So yeah. So just again, the only way to give it away when you go to the MLS or write the offer, if it has a different license number, right, then it becomes a single agent on your RPA, which is right here, right? So I think I brought it up. So for example, here, right? So and then yours is 00, right? And then both Berkshire. then that'll become a single. Yeah, same brokerage, same franchise, right? But different license number right there. Are we good? Okay, good. Okay, so that's how it is. Now, but again, if we have the same license number here, then we become, regardless who's helping who, then now it becomes a dual agents right there. We're good? Yes? Awesome. Okay. All right. So, and again, NFE, if I see this, okay, and I've seen a lot this done on our SkySlope, I always call it, and I have you guys do an addendum to disclose to the parties that you are a dual agent on this transaction. Okay. And then you get attached card form AC, confirmation of agency. So to avoid that, okay, please make sure to have a dual agent. All right, let's continue with our leasing contract. And very good question, Brandon. Thank you for very good question. Yeah, because sometimes we, it gets kind of lost because again, a lot of us don't think that there's more than actually more than one office out there for Berkshire Hathaway, and there is.
Mhm.
Okay, so on this, continue. Okay, so when it comes to this, also to please keep aware that we don't hold any insurance when it comes to protecting our clients, our sellers, property. Okay, I always encourage and recommend to always put other valuables away. Okay, so do not have anything up for grabs, because again, even though we do protect our properties with electronic lockbox, okay, we cannot protect people once they're inside. Okay, and the last thing you want things to get stolen, misplaced, or taken by individuals who come and preview the properties. Okay, and also invest in your electronic lock boxes. Do not use combo lock boxes like a lot of agents do out there. Okay, if you know take a listing, okay, invest in an electronic lock box. Get something that's gonna stop people from sharing their combo lockbox to other people. Again, it was very common back in the days that people were, especially buyer's agent, okay, they will provide the combo lockbox to their clients, and anybody will just come in and go as they please, okay. And by that, we don't have no control who comes into or outside the property. Now, with your electronic lockbox, your super lockbox, now we know with our phones who's coming in and who's going out, because you will get notifications once your lockbox has been open at that date and time as well, and also who was the agent who showed the property last. Now, if something's missing, we can always go back and ask that agent, hey, you were the last one to show this property, and around this time, something got lost. Okay, so keep that in mind. Okay, so we don't have no insurance for anything that gets lost, misplaced, stolen. Again, so please keep that in mind. Okay, when it comes to security and insurance, audio and video. Okay, now if the owner seller wants to have cameras installed, or they already have cameras installed that actually produces audio and video, okay, you need to notify the people that are coming in, they are being recorded. Again, if the homeowner has cameras that are being recorded with audio and video, they must have signs posted that there are cameras, they have audio and video recordings at all times. So you need to let the people know and to be aware what's going on in the property. Okay, keep that in mind. When it comes to photography and internet, our very own Rodrigo, he would help you guys take pictures and do what else, Rodrigo?
Pictures, video. I can help them make a website if they need to, a logo, whatever they need, pretty much.
and Rodrigo's gonna do it for free or charge you a penny, but he rather has an open house.
Open house, yeah. As long as I, you know, can pretty much turn it around, I can do that.
So we have your professional photographer because Mr. Rodrigo has a professional camera here. Okay, thank you, Rodrigo, for your announcement. So again, when it comes to photography now, keep in mind that if Rodrigo takes those pictures, who owns the pictures? Rodrigo owns the pictures. He does, okay? Because he took the pictures. So he owns those photos. Unless he gives you the rights, and it's gonna be in a different form. And I think it's card form PASD. I'm not sure. We'll go to that form. But again, you need to either buy the pictures from Rodrigo, or Rodrigo has to give them to you for free. But again, it has to be done in a different form, because otherwise those images belong to Rodrigo. Now, if you pay Rodrigo or he gives you the pictures for free, it's okay. Then you are the owner of those pictures of that media. Now, keep in mind that those pictures, okay, cannot be used again on a different MLS. Let's say, for example, Rodrigo, he's a great photographer. He took nice pictures, right? And you use them on your MLS, on your listing. But down the line, that owner sold the property, and you and you double ended the property, and now the buyer who owns the property 2 years from now, he calls you, hey, Jorge, you know what? I want to sell my property. Can you please sell me the property? Yeah, I know the property. I sold it once. I could sell it again. Well, guess what? You still have the pictures from Rodrigo that he took back in the days, right? Can you use the same pictures? No, you cannot. Even though you own the pictures, you cannot use the same pictures because you will be using old images when the property was for sale at one point. And most likely the house might not look the same way that it did back then, but 2 years ago. So you cannot use the same images you did it once at one. So again, you gotta call Rodrigo again to help you take pictures all over again. Now maybe Rodrigo says, you know what? Well, I'm too busy now. You pay me now. At one point I did it for free because I'm starting and I need open houses. But now I'm a professional photographer and I'm also a professional real estate agent. I can help you, but it's gonna cost you now. So let's be fair. So yes, and a lot of agents out there, they use the old images and they're not supposed to. And sometimes the MLS will catch it. And guess what? They will get fined. Okay. They will get fined. Okay. If they use the old pictures from the previous MLS. So keep that in mind. Okay. Do not use the old images from the previous MLSs. And also do not use any pictures from Google. Do you not use pictures from any other provider or any other site? Okay. Go, if Rodrigo is not available because you want to go for the free pictures, then hire a professional or take your iPhone or you get a camera or whatever that is and take your own pictures. But please do not take pictures from other sources or from Google because again, you will get fined because all the pictures are what? Copyrighted. If they're copyrighted, you will get fined. All right. Let's move on. Unless the seller says unless the seller instructs you not to take pictures, it's select here. Now, key safe and lock boxes, right? Now, I went through the key safe and lock boxes. Please invest. The key safe is cost about $100 if I'm not mistaken. Okay, but again, they will last you maybe a couple of years. Okay, they only once the battery depletes or it empties out, that super lockbox will no longer work for you. The bad part about lockbox is that they only work for once, meaning for the life of the cycle of the battery. Once the life cycle of the battery ends, you cannot recharge those batteries. And guess what? You have to go back and rebuy more. So if you are focusing on taking listings, which is a good idea, yes, go for it. Buy only the ones you need. Don't buy 10, don't buy 20 from the beginning because eventually those batteries will start to deplete the battery. We don't want, okay? So buy 5 at the beginning maybe, And then if you need more, then buy more. If you continue becoming a heavy lister. Okay. But if the seller says, you know what, I don't want to have a key safe lockbox, then select here as well. Okay. Now, when it comes to tenant occupied, keep in mind that homes that are tenant occupied, it's a good and it's also bad in the same way. Why is it good? Well, it's good because most likely they're getting monthly income revenue, right, on this property. But it's also bad because you might not be able to evict tenants from properties, right? Especially in LA, any rent control properties, right? You cannot easily evict tenants from properties in LA when it's rent control. Why is that? Well, because there's a moratorium, or maybe because actually they have more rights than the landlord. Yes, they do, right? Now, if you want to evict a tenant from a rent control area, guess what? That tenant needs to be compensated based on the rent they were paying and based on the time they were living in that property. Now, back in 05, 06, I sold a property in LA. I'm sorry, I helped a client who was living in some apartments, right? And those apartments were getting demolished because they were building some new lofts, new buildings, right? And my client who was buying back then, he got 30,000 in for the relocation of for himself. So with that 30,000 he got from the landlord, he used that for his down payment to buy a duplex in LA. So you gotta be very careful when you're dealing with tenants on the rent control, because a lot of homeowners not fully know, and if they know, most likely they don't want to sell the property without any tenants because they know the consequences that will arise out of this sale, that they might have to compensate back to the tenant to evict them out of their own home. So you got to be very careful. Now, is it your job to find out if this property is rent control? No, it's not your job. It's your job to ask the landlord, I noticed you have a house for sale in LA. Does this property fall under the rent control? Yes or no? If it says no or I don't know, then that's it. Take it with a grain of salt. If it says yes, then make a note of that. Right? Now, how can you find out? Well, if you want to start digging deeper, you can always call the city. Or you can always Google it. And there's websites to search for which region of LA is considered rent control. And it's going to give you a map. And also you can type in the address and it's going to say if it's rent control or not.
Freddy, what about Compton?
Compton
County.
no, if it's county, there's no rent control in county.
Okay.
And also the city of Compton, I believe there's no rent control in the city of Compton as well. Okay. Yes. Now they're starting to push it that even county has rent control, right? So that's why it's always smart and crucial to always vote when it comes to the in the actual castings, right? Because again, on those bills they show up, right, for the voting. Again, help your sellers, because eventually you might become a seller as well. That you don't want the tenants who have pretty much more rights than yourself as a homeowner or landlord. And sad to say, it sucks to say that the tenant nowadays has more rights, with other respect. But again, they have more rights than the landlord when it comes to evictions or to getting compensated. So be careful when it comes to that. Okay. All right. Signs. Okay. Yard signs. Yard signs on the property. If the seller does not authorize, select here. Or does authorize to install a for sale sold sign on the property. Okay. We know that for sale signs to be installed, that will come out of your own expense. Okay. We have different sources to go with. We have Rapido and we have these signs, okay? But you could choose whoever you want to select to get that sign installed on the property. Okay, so if you want to use someone else, again, we have Rapido signs and these signs, and these are people that have our signages to install the for sale signs on the property. Now, if you want to have your own customizable signs, yard signs, maybe you want to say, hey, Naomi Washington for sale, right? Berkshire Hathaway. Yes, you can have your own phone number, your picture, and same again on your yard sign. Yes, you can, right? But you need to provide those signages to the company you will be using from now on. It could be Rapido, it could be these signs, okay? And they will charge you to get the sign installed. Now, if you want to do it yourself, by all means, hire somebody to go in and dig the hole, put the post and the yard sign. It's up to you. All right, let's move on. On 19, additional terms, REO advisory listing, short sale information and advisory, and a trust advisory. What is an REO?
Real estate owned by bank or institution.
Yes, you're right, Jorge. It's a real estate owned property. When the bank owns a property, it's being for sale. Okay. Short sale. What is a short sale?
Property and conflict that doesn't have enough value on the property to pay the bills and the bank accept to be sold and
Yeah.
pay for.
So a short, yes, okay, you're in the right track. So a short sale is when a house or a property, right, is underwater, right, and most likely it has less value what they owe to the bank or to the mortgagor, right? So a short sale, to become a short sale, right, it needs to be fully approved by the lien holder, by the bank. You cannot say it's a short sale without first being approved for it to get sold as a short sale. So for example, let's say Jorge. Jorge owns a property, right? And he owes a property to B of A. And the house, and he owes more what the property is worth, right? And he wants to list a house for sale. And he hires Rodrigo as the agent. So Rodrigo says, okay, well, I fully understand that your house, that you owe more money what your property is worth. So Rodrigo cannot say automatically, well, you know, it's a short sale. No, no, no. Rodrigo needs to do his due diligence, right? And needs to get the full approval from the B of A to allow and grant Jorge to sell the property as a short sale, meaning that the bank will take a loss of the negative equity and forgive Jorge and not charge him the difference out of pocket. Now, this was very common back in 08, 09, 10, and 11. It was very common. You know, and the President Obama back in those days, he signed a bill to forgive all those loans or the negative equity. But nowadays, that has changed. Now, are there any short sales nowadays? Not really. They're speculating they might come back. I doubt it. We might see foreclosures, but not short sales. Because keep in mind, a lot of people were buying with 10, 20, 30% down, right? And I don't think they have enough equity, right? Not to become a short sale. So going back to the scenario with Jorge and Rodrigo. So once the B of A grants and allows Jorge, right, to take that to forgive the negative equity, then you can call it a short sale. But at the beginning, it's a regular sale. It's a traditional sale at the beginning. Unless you get the full approval from the bank for the short sale, then yes, call it a short sale. Does that make sense to you guys? Because the bank says, no, we're not going to forgive the negative equity. We want Jorge to pay out of pocket. So will that be a short sale? Or will that be a regular traditional sale? If the bank doesn't want to forgive Jorge for the difference of the equity. Which one is it? Short sale or regular sale? If the bank says no, we're not going to forgive you.
Short sale,
No, Naomi, it's not going to short sale, honey.
regular.
When the bank doesn't forgive you and they want you to pay the money out of pocket, it's
Oh,
not
so
a short
regular.
sale. It's not a short sale.
Okay.
Unless the bank is willing to take the loss of the negative equity and they want to forgive Jorge or your clients, right? Then yes, you could call it a short sale because the bank
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Yeah,
because
I've
the
been
bank
through
is
that.
at a loss. Okay, so please be careful with that. Okay, and then the last one, what is a trust advisory? Is that like I gotta earn your trust to sell this property? No, a trust is when you have a revocable trust, when there's actually just trust in a living trust, right? That is in a, for example, Gamboa trust, right? And I'm the trustee because I'm still alive. So this is a trust sale. Okay. Now, also here, when the seller intends to include a contingency to purchase a replacement property as part of any resulting transaction, what does that mean? Means that your seller needs to sell this property to find a replacement, right? So they're a contingent to sell to find a replacement. Meaning, if they don't find a replacement, they're not entitled or they don't want to sell this property because they're contingent upon finding a replacement property for the house you're selling. Okay. So if your seller needs to find a replacement, there are with the intent to include a contingency, and thus card form SPRP. Again, card form, make a note of this, SPRP. That's the seller's property replacement purchase.
Freddie, can I ask you a question about the trust
Yes, Naomi.
advisory? What if you have a trust and the company closed down and you can't find it, but you already paid and got it notarized and everything? Is it still under the trust?
Okay, you said a company closed down? You lost me there,
Yeah,
Naomi.
yeah.
Okay, a trust, it cannot be a company.
Well, I'm just saying, you went through this company and that company closed down and you can't even find them no more.
Okay,
So is that trust still is active?
okay, if you're speaking about the attorney who did the trust for you, and
Can't
the
find them,
attorney's, I'm sorry?
can't find them, they closed down.
Okay, yeah. If you pay for everything and you have your paperwork and the actual paperwork of the trust, right? And the articles and the trust, and also the property is registered or recorded as a trust, yes, it's still a trust.
How can you call and find, you just call
You
call the
go
recorder's office to see if it's been recorded?
you can always contact your title rep in this case and ask them to give you a property profile.
Okay,
And if it was at one point recorded as a trust, and then yes, it's considered a trust sale.
okay, all right, thank you.
You're welcome. My pleasure. Okay, so going back to the replacement of the property. Again, the seller needs to find a replacement, which is the up leg, to sell the bottom leg, which is this property. And they are contingent upon selling to buy. And if they cannot find a replacement, they cannot sell. Because the last thing you want, this homeowner becomes homeless, because if they sell this property and they're not contingent upon finding a better property or similar, right? The last thing they'll be homeless with no home, and we don't want that. Okay, so that's why you gotta use card form SPRP to tell the buyer who's buying this property, just to let you know, Mr. Buyer, okay, my seller needs to find a replacement first before we sell this house to you. And if we cannot find a replacement, we're not gonna sell the house to you. Okay, Carlos is saying trusts are not recorded. In the trust, okay, if the trust is lost and owner is alive, the title company will have them fill out an affidavit stating They are the trustors created for the trust. Yes, Carlos, you're right. Okay, so again, so definitely contact your title rep, Naomi. Okay, thank you, Carlos. All right, so let's move on. Okay, so when it comes to additional terms, what can we use for anything that is additional terms when it comes to not the listing, but anything that you want to add or subtract from the terms of the sale of this property? Last week we discussed listing terms. Now this could be additional terms. Anything that you want to do or create as a selling agent. What can we do? What can we use or put down as a additional terms? How about open houses? Maybe you have a seller who wants to do open houses every weekend until it sells. Can you put it here? Open houses will be every weekends from 12 to 5 until an offer has been accepted. Can that be one of your terms? Yes, it can be, right? So open houses. There you go. Open houses. Open houses will be hosted every weekend from 12 to 5 until an offer has been accepted. Can that be one of my terms? It can be, right? What else? What other terms can we use? What about the time to show the property? Can that be a term? No showings. How about no showings between Monday and, okay, or showings, available any day, right? That could be a term, right? Monday, Friday between 12 and 5, right? I want to be, maybe no one's home and they just want to show it when no one's home, right? What else can we put here? Anybody else? Any other term you could think of? Come on. I'm seeing thinking. I see you guys thinking here. Come on. Give me one more. I just saying some buyers do not want anyone to just walk in without an offer. Yeah, maybe. So she's saying do not show the property without an offer, right? Or maybe do not maybe that could be another one, right? Do not present offers below asking price. Yeah, if you get an offer below asking price, please don't waste my time. Okay, fine. That could be that could be a term, right? So again, this is where the place you want to put down anything you want to actually modify or do or create, right? That has been actually stipulated that you want to do or you want to recommend to do, or they're asking to, or the seller's asking to do as well. Okay, number 20, management approval. Okay, please take note of this one, okay? Because this is actually, I don't want to do it, but if if it does happen, I will do it. Okay. Now, if an associate licensee in a broker's office, salesperson, or broker's associate enters into this agreement on broker's behalf, and brokers or manager does not approve of its terms, broker or manager has the right to cancel this agreement in writing within how many days? 5 days after execution. Okay, now I never done it. Okay, I'm not planning to do it. But if the time does happen and you bring in a listing contract without my consent, and you take a 2% or 3% listing and you're excited about it, I will cancel it. I have the right to cancel the listing within 5 days, including Dennis Rosas, our president. I'm not trying to be cruel. I'm not trying to be mean. But again, you work hard for your money. Earn your percent and your 6%, 5%, nothing lower than that. Okay, you go out of your own way, you're hitting doors, you're making phone calls. Okay, it's not fair for somebody to not appreciate your value. Okay, you are worth more than 5%, 6 and above. Okay, so again, if you become excited that you have your listing at a 2%, most likely I will cancel. Now, if you let me know what's going on from the beginning and you tell me, hey, Freddy, I have this seller who needs, again, I'm trying to take his listing, but again, they're cashing out very little, but they want to give me the listing, then we could talk about it. And I'm okay with that. But please let me know, inform me what's going on. Even I charge a 4 and below. Even if you've taken a listing at a 4% and below, please notify me immediately and tell me why, the reasons you want to charge a 4%. Carlos is saying, what if it's a $1 million sale, Carlos? Okay, Carlitos, same thing, Carlos. If it is a $10 million property and you're only getting 1%, 2%, tell me why. I need to know. You gotta give me a business answer why you're taking that at 2%.
I'm just
Okay.
messing with you, Freddy. But technically, commissions are negotiable.
They are negotiable, exactly.
Seller and so it's kind of harsh to turn down a listing when it's a big sale.
No, I know, but again, if you are taking this $5 million listing at 2%, please let me know why. And again, yeah, I'm not gonna fight it. I'd rather take 2% than no percent, right? I know that. But let me know. Don't just take it on your own, right, without my consent. Yeah, because again, 2% is 100,000. I know that. So, all right. Okay, when it comes to successors and assigns, this agreement shall be binding upon the sellers and successors and assigns, right? And this could be your LLCs, POAs, trusts, and so on, right? Okay, Margaret, have a good day. Take care. See you soon. Okay, and I'm going to stop real fast, and I'm going to continue this next week. Okay. So, any questions on page 4 and 3? Any concerns about the reports? About when it comes to the agencies, when it comes to commissions, signage, photos, terms, replacement properties? No questions? We good? All right. Good for you guys. Very good.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you, Jorge.